because I'm tired. I cried watching this documentary. I was mad whilst watching this documentary. I was absolutely grimacing, angered, frustrated. I was so emotional watching this documentary. Aloha, welcome back to my channel. This is Rose Latte, and on this channel I usually post about tourism, unique experiences, and just living your life to the fullest. However, we break the regular programming to come in with this news topic. Oh my goodness. So recently I watched a documentary about dead white man's clothes. Yes, you heard me right. Dead white man's clothes. And this documentary was presented released last week by ABC News in depth. The reason why I'm making a social commentary video about this documentary is because the second it was released, I thought to myself, oh my God, it is time. They have found out. They have translated the name and they have found out what it means, and now there's a whole documentary about this. It was going to happen. It was bound to happen. But hey ho, it has happened and now I need to talk about it. First of all, I want to talk about what dead white man's clothes are. Basically, translated to the local language, well, fancy or tree, it's brunyiwewu, a white man that has died, and it's attributed to clothing. So it's basically offcuts, it's basically, secondhand clothing that is shipped from the western areas such as America, UK, Australia. Even though it's not the West, it's classed as the West. So that's where they come from. They come in big trucks, they come in big lorries on the ships, and they're distributed across Ghana. And people buy those clothing items because they're far cheaper than the usual handmade clothes. That's a big problem. So in the UK, we've got charity shops, which, this top was from a charity shop. I bought it. It's beautiful. I love it. I've worn it for years. Great quality. Brilliant. In America, you have thrift stores. A lot of people go thrifting. It's seen as a cool thing to do. And the big difference is, in America and the UK, you've got charity shops. The clothing, yes, they can have, clothing dumps, etc. However, the majority of the clothing that isn't sold or used is shipped off to places like Ghana, which is where this whole epidemic has started. And this is where the documentary is also based. Ever since I was young, I've had experience with brunyiwewu. I have used to buy brunyiwewu, or it was bought for me. And back then, I didn't really see the danger. I didn't really see it as a pollutant. But thinking back right now, it pollutes Ghana on so many different levels, and that's what I'm going to get into in this video. So in this video, the main purpose is to talk about fast fashion and how it's polluting Ghana's worth. And in fact, like I said, there's so many levels to that. But before that, let us talk about some pros. The first pro about this documentary that was made by ABC in depth is the fact that it's documenting a problem. It's showcasing to the world that this problem exists. It's an environmental issue, it's a social issue, it's an issue on so many different levels. And I love that. I love the fact that they are documenting this problem. The second pro is that the fast fashion industry, this brunyiwewu industry, actually provides jobs for the local people. So as you watch the documentary, you see a lady who actually used to live in the north, and she's traveled down to Accra to partake as a head porter for these clothing items, and then she gets some kind of money at the end of the day. Sometimes she makes nothing, other times she makes about $5 a day, which is not a lot. And it does injure her body. She has to take painkillers to survive and all these different things. However, it still provides an industry. It's an industry that still provides jobs for people. The third pro is that it gives poor people an opportunity to afford clothing. A lot of the clothes are either soiled or dirty and they're not sold, but a lot of them are not of higher quality. So although the poor people have the opportunity to afford these clothing items, how long will they last them? It's the same issue. This top, the reason why I bought it is because I checked the brand, I checked the material, and I knew that it would last me for a long time. However, The kinds of offcuts, the kind of secondhand clothing that's shipped abroad, is basically the ones that they try to sell in the West and no one wanted them. And then they just said, you know what, we're going to give this to Africa. This is a con that will come later. I'll talk about it in a moment. The fourth pro is that it fuels entrepreneurship. It fuels people actually becoming businessmen and businesswomen. I mean, the documentary documents a lady who, because of family circumstances, had to go into some kind of business, and she chose this business with the fast fashion, this Brunyiwewu culture, to become an entrepreneur. She's making some money. Some days are difficult. She also has outstanding debts and things like that. However, she's able to start her own business. Now, let's get into the cons, because the list is a lot longer than the pros. Let me tell you that right now. So the cons section is going to be based around the word pollutants. Just think about that. Pollutant. Pollution. Okay? That's the entire cons section. So the first con, of course, is the pollution of the land, sea, and skies based on the Brunyiwewu culture, the Brunyiwewu industry. Pollution of the land. You see this documentary with drone shots showing landfills, showing all these different animals like climbing on top of the land, children running around, in slums, and they particularly place them in slums because they know that they can't really argue about that. Then they blame the people living in the slums for the waste, and it basically pollutes the land. It's a waste product. You've got landfills being filled 10 years early simply because these products are being made and they're being stored in the land, and some of these fibers can take hundreds of years to disintegrate. However, they're still being placed on the land. So not only is the land mass of Ghana being polluted, but it's being polluted not just for the short term, for the long term as well. Pollutes the seas. You can see all these tentacles, or that's what they call them in the documentary, all these tentacles being washed away into the ocean. Tentacles of clothing being washed away into the ocean, and then polluting the beaches, polluting the sand, polluting the coral reefs, polluting the sea itself, and it just stops the growth of vital life. It stops tourism to those beaches. It stops and halts progress because it's unsightly. It's unsightly. And then thirdly, the pollution of the skies, because there's so much of this waste on the land. Some of it has to be burnt, and when it's burnt, the smoke rises to the sky and then pollutes the skies, which not only affects Ghana, but it affects the surrounding countries and then eventually the world. Because if there are all these waste landfills with things being burnt, and it's not even being burnt in a way that can produce fuel. If there was a solution where they could disintegrate and they could burn all these clothing items, and then the end product of that could be some kind of fuel, then that is a solution to the problem. However, that is not even the case. They literally just light fires, burn the clothes on the spot. An issue, a pollutant. The second pollutant is the pollution to Ghana's native textile fashion industry. It was mentioned in the documentary that a lot of people can't afford the clothing that is handmade, that the seamstresses and the tailors make for them to wear. And it's very, very, very disheartening for me because members of my family are tailors and seamstresses. That culture is such a privilege that we have in Ghana that a lot of people in the West don't have. They have it, but a lot of people in the West don't go to get their clothes made. You can't get handmade items to fit your body with your native fabrics, The textile industry is deteriorating because we're paying so much attention and we're paying so much money, and we're giving what seems like cheap clothing, cheap passable clothing, cheap third-hand clothing at this point, priority over our own native grown textiles, prints, which just saddens me to no end. If we were to shift the focus from spending so much money and time building the industry of fast fashion, we could actually shift that focus to building our own textile industry, which will make the clothing more affordable, create some more jobs for seamstresses and tailors, which is a more sustainable job than someone, injuring their whole body being a head porter. My 2 cents. The third pollutant, the third term of pollution actually stems from the second one. By engaging in using other people's items, we are actually taking away and polluting Ghana's heritage and culture, customs, tradition, because we are not investing into it. If we don't invest time, energy, finances into that sector, our heritage will be lost, our customs will be lost. There will come a time where handmade clothes are not made anymore because people are so used to buying second, third-hand clothing from the West. Why would we do that to our own country? Why would we diminish our own selves in order to raise someone else? Why would we do that? We should cater to the traditions and the customs that we have in order to grow. And this is something that I feel really passionate about, and I'm changing my life in such a way that is going to allow me to live that truth that I have discovered within myself, and the truth that I want to impart into my children as well. Following on from that, yet again, by aiding and abetting to using other people's culture as our own, we are enabling them to see Africa as a dumping ground. We're enabling them to see Africa as a place where, if you don't have something that's useful, give it to Africa. If you don't have something that works, throw it to Africa. And that would literally make people feel as if that we are second class. We are the last option. We are the dumping ground, the trash site. So how do you expect anyone to respect you if you are being viewed by them as trash? Because that's where their trash goes. So guess what? You are trash. You have no level playing field, you have no level playing ground, because you are not protecting the sanctity, you're not respecting your country, you are not putting yourself on the stage as someone who's deemed worthy of respect. Because when they look at you, they'll just see all the trash that's gone to you. They'll see all the minerals that's exploited from you, so your bone, but then covering that bone is the fast fashion waste, is the electrical waste. It's all these different things that are polluting our country that we don't see. It might be a problem, but we're used to it. That's the issue. We're so used to it that we don't actually see it as a problem, but it is a problem. And it's also going to lead me into my next point and my last con. It's polluting our self-worth. It's polluting our self-worth because we're so used to seeing the West and, if I can buy a clothes that has Adidas on it or Adidas on it, if I can buy a Nike footwear, if I can buy this, then we see ourselves as only good enough if we're wearing those things. And then the more we buy into that, the more we will enable the industry, which will also take away from our own textile industry, our own heritage and custom, our own worth as a country. And it's just a backlog of different things. It will get to a point in our future where we don't even know ourselves anymore. So I just wanted to round this off by saying that we need to stop polluting our own self-worth. We need to stop polluting our heritage. We need to stop polluting our culture. We need to stop polluting our people. We need to grow as a country. We need to be able to stand on our own shoulders. We need to be able to stand on the gold, the blood, and the agriculture of our country. What makes up our flag? We need to be able to stand on the heritage, the customs of our history, and grow and become who our ancestors envisioned us to be. That's who we need to become. We need to stop giving in to taking off cuts, taking off the worst from the West. We can't. We need to be and strategically plan who we are going to be in the future. And I've actually come up in my trusted notebook, I've come up with a solution in my viewpoint to this issue. The solution is that we need to place sanctions on imports, whether reducing the amount of imports that we take in or put a higher price on how much it costs to import those kind of things that waste and pollute our country into Ghana. And also we need to invest in Ghana's textile industry. Build different kinds of fabrics, grow hemp, build build those kinds of sustainable fabrics that we can actually then export our textiles to the world and charge a premium price to the global economy, because that is what's going to bring money in long term. That's going to grow our own industries. That's going to grow jobs, sustainable jobs, jobs that parents can teach their children. Once the industry is established, guess what? Children will want to learn from that industry because they'll see that there's a growth involved in that industry. They can start their own businesses. They can teach their children. It's generational. So we need to flip the system, so to speak, and make the system work in our favor. We need to be the Ghanaians. We need to be the geniuses that we are. We need to be the hardworking people that we are. We need to strive forth and become the kind of people we want our children to be. Positively working towards the future and the growth of our own country instead of helping another country grow. We need to look after ourselves, and that starts by setting systems in place that actually help us in the long run and not just for the short term. Thank you. That is my presidential my presidential talk. I love my country and I don't want to see it go to waste. If you've got any thoughts on this topic, please comment down below. Let's talk about this. But I know that during my life, I'm going to do things. I'm going to be in circles that's going to help bring a change to Ghana, because I'm tired. I cried watching this documentary. I was mad whilst watching this documentary. I was absolutely grimacing, angered, frustrated. I was so emotional watching this documentary, and especially the parts where the people were fighting each other just to get the clothes. I was just like, why are you doing that? Stop being so animalistic. I know it's like Black Friday sales and things like that, but you don't need to beat someone else over some trash. You don't. You really do not. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I hope this video shed some light on my views on the way that I was brought up in Ghana, my vision for Ghana in the future, and tell me your views as well, because I want this to be a conversation. You know, I don't want it to just be me talking to you, talking to the camera. I want us to talk about this. What do you think about fast fashion? What do you think about the impact of fast fashion on someone's self-worth? What do you think about the solutions that I presented to grow Ghana? Let me know your thoughts. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for visiting my channel.